In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Zeiss 50mm f1.5 Sonnar ZM. Bit of a mouthful. A review of this was actually requested under my previous video, so I'm getting that out this week. It's an interesting lens, it's a very quirky lens, and although it's great in some respects, it does have a few drawbacks. First things first, let's go through the pros. It's a £600 lens, which is very, very reasonable in Leica terms. It's expensive as lenses go, but if you think about what you're comparing this to, we're talking lenses like the Summilux. Even the old versions, the lenses from the 1960s still go for around £1,800. So if you can get one of these, then you're saving a ton of money. This lens is very compact as 50mm go as well. The one main sort of statistical drawback is that it has a close focus distance of 90 centimeters. If you are someone who likes to work at their close focusing distance often, then maybe the planar is the one to go for. This is kind of the Zeiss planar's untamed brother. It does have very different performance at f1.5 than it does from anywhere else in its aperture range. So if you can tame it at f1.5 and use it normally past that point, you're going to be all right. What I'm going to do today is take it out into London. We're going to shoot some street scenes. We're going to find some interesting things, and hopefully I can show off its look. I can show off its quirkiness, and in some instances, I'll show you how to cure some of its weirder effects. Let's head out and see what I can get. I chose to load a roll of Kodak Portra because a lot of people are familiar with it, and it helps when reviewing things to have a familiar kind of baseline to work from. I was going to film this in central London, but I ended up going to Hampstead Heath. It was a bit of a last minute decision, but I hope I can get a wide range of subjects that really show off what the lens can do. I think it's important to view lens reviews as just showing off the lens's abilities. I'm not saying here's a good image I took and therefore if you have this lens you can take good images. I'm kind of just showing you how it reacts to different things. I mean here, this shot for example, if we zoom and look at the detail, you can see it's not sumicron sharp, but it's still plenty sharp for this kind of walk around landscape application. These images so far have been taken at apertures other than f1.5, and this lens really is two lenses kind of hidden in one body. If you think about the lens at 1.5 as the kind of wild and untamed part, the other part of the lens, or from f2 or 2.8 onwards, is really quite tame and really quite standard as Zeiss lenses go. This shot, for example, I wouldn't be able to tell you if this was taken on the Sonnar or the planar. It's just quite neat. There's nothing crazy going on. It's all well and good saying that it performs normally, but you guys want to see what it does at 1.5. So this shot here, I can show you the f1.5 shot. If you look at it, it's very shallow depth of field. I have done a little trick to get the focus shift to accurately fall on the dog's eyes. If we have a little zoom in and we have a look at the bokeh or the outer focus areas, you can see that some of it's a little bit busy. If you look just over the right side of the frame, you can see some of the lines appearing, which isn't as smooth as maybe people might like. Some of these leaves look a bit hectic. If you're one of those people that buys a lens, puts the widest aperture on and just leaves it there, maybe looking at this is something you're interested in. Busy backgrounds can spook it a bit. It's not always like this, and I will show you some examples of it being a lot cleaner later in the video. This picture of Con, he was helping me film. I took this at 1.5, but also at 5.6. So this is a really useful comparison for people who want to see not only the changing contrast, but also the way that the focus or out of focus areas react. I gave you this close up, and you can see that it's a little bit more, I'd say micro contrast, but it's a little bit punchier in the 5.6 image. You can see that the out of focus area is a little bit smoother despite the increased aperture as well. This is my favourite shot from the day. I like the sunlight in the tops of the trees. This detail shot was taken at f1.5, and you can see that there's still quite a lot of detail, quite a lot of sharpness in the centre frame. If that wasn't scientific enough, here's a shot of a tree trunk, and you can see at f1.5, 2.8 and 5.6 how the lens responds to being stopped down. It does get sharper as you stop down from 1.5 to 2.8, but by 5.6 it's not going to get any sharper. When you get to f11 or so, you're going to start getting diffraction softening. So if you really care about sharpness, these are your key apertures, and I don't know how much YouTube compresses it, but take of this what you will. These two shots were designed to show you what happens when you point it directly into the sun. You can see in the left-hand images, wide open, it has this actually quite nice flaring. If you look at the tree trunk, you can see it has that kind of golden glow as the light bounces around inside the lens. 5.6 is a lot more controlled, it's a bit more clinical, but I actually prefer the left-hand image. Nothing special, just a shot of a tree, but it is an older design and it does do stuff like this. Another thing about this lens is that it's not great at chromatic aberration. You can see a little bit on these reeds and a little bit in the branches of the trees here. I didn't realise quite how harsh I was going to be on this lens until I started recording the voiceover. Zeiss haven't done a bad job. I've been specifically looking for places where the lens will struggle. If you use it normally, then it's completely fine. So I've put this shot of the bench. You can see that it's sharp. There's no issues with the bokeh. There's no chromatic aberration, just so I'm fair to Zeiss. I tried really hard to film this while I was out in the park, but it was difficult. It's very difficult to demonstrate with a film rangefinder. When you're using this lens, your plane of focus actually changes depending on your aperture. That's what focus shift is, and this lens exhibits it in buckets. Between f1.5 and f2.8, your focus point changes by around 4 centimeters when you're close focused, which is absolutely wild if you're doing anything that requires critical focus. If you watch this video of me racking the focus between f1.5 and f2.8, you'll see how it moves from the night at 1.5 to slightly behind the night at 2.8. Imagine you've got a portrait subject and you're trying to place it on their eyes. It can be an absolute nightmare. The way I've learned to deal with it is I was actually able to try this lens on a digital rangefinder so that I could kind of get my eye in. And what I do is I compose at 1.5 and then I lean just a slight sort of 2 or 3 centimeter lean with my upper body into the frame. And by doing that, obviously I'm moving my focus point forward, so I get what I want. The other thing you can do is just to focus on the subject's ears instead of their eyes, but that's a little bit too niche for me to do while I'm out and about. This might have made up your mind for you, and you might be thinking that buying a lens that doesn't focus accurately is never a good idea. But I do get more shots in focus than not. You can deal with it, and if you're willing to give that slight lean at the start of the shot, it's not that difficult to remember. So take it with a pinch of salt, but it is doable. Here's a proof of concept shot for the lean method. I leant in a couple of centimeters just before pressing the shutter. I got this in focus, and it sort of serves as proof that although your rangefinder isn't accurate, it's always inaccurate in the same way, so you can account for it in a way that you couldn't if it was somehow wonky or randomized. So I've ended up on the other side of the park. I've shot one roll of portrait. I'm not going to load another roll because the light levels are getting kind of low. What I'm going to do now is head back, develop this roll, and hopefully I can look at some images by this evening. When I set out to film that review, I didn't know quite how harsh I'd be about the lens. It's as if I've gone over all of its flaws and defects with quite a fine-tooth comb. So if you are a prospective buyer or you're an owner who's now very angry with me, it is a lens I really enjoy using. It's a lens that I'll continue to use, and to be honest, I've gone over its flaws so that you're aware of them, but they really only exist between 1.5 and 2.8. If you're willing to close this lens down, it is just a standard middle of the road. It won't freak you out. It won't do anything wrong. I am going to quickly demonstrate as well the focus shift. Now, my video camera is about 90 centimeters away from me. So if I close focus this, I'll just quickly put this over my camera. Okay, so this is rangefinder focused, but because of the focus shift issue, I have to move my focus point forward a bit. That's the movement I do. If you look, I've essentially just tilted my upper body. You can also just do it by kind of nodding your head, but obviously you have to recompose a bit. It's not a drastic maneuver. It's barely something you think about. It is sometimes slightly annoying to have a lens that makes you think that in the back of your mind, you're kind of counting your aperture clicks. But it is just, when you're wide open, you're going to know it because you're going to be thinking about your shallow depth of field anyway. To have a lens that can shoot in low light, a lens that's this small, and a lens that is this reasonably priced compared to its Leica competitors, does give it a pretty strong claim to the sort of a good 50mm to buy for your M mount. And thanks for watching, because this has been a very technically minded video. Next week, I'm going to be reviewing Lomography's 800 speed. I think they just call it Lomo 800. It's like Portra, but it's cheap. So stay tuned for that. Might be a bit more relaxed. And thanks for watching. It is quite late on Sunday night, so I'm going to go downstairs, very quickly try and upload this video and keep to my 1 video a week schedule. Thanks very much.